U.S. and Ukrainian officials are voicing growing skepticism that Russia will fulfill its pledge to draw down some military activities in Ukraine. Russian bombs are still dropping on civilian areas near Ukraine's capital after Russia promised to dramatically de-escalate attacks in that part of the country. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials say Russia targeted another oil depot in northwestern Ukraine. Dozens of firefighters eventually managed to put out those flames, but it's just the latest of several oil depots targeted in the region. And in southern Ukraine, new verified drone video shows some of the destruction in the bombarded city of Mariupol, including a drama theater where hundreds of civilians were killed. Thousands of people have been trapped in that city with little food or water, and satellite images show long lines of people waiting outside a local grocery store. Our senior national correspondent Terry Moran joins me live now from Lviv, Ukraine, with more on this. And Terry, it sounds like air raid sirens sounded all across almost all of Ukraine overnight, despite Russia's claims that it would scale back military operations in certain areas. What do you make of that?
Well, it's a mixed picture, isn't it? Russia is still fighting very fiercely to take territory in the eastern part of this country, near the part of Ukraine that they already controlled through their Russian-backed, Russian-armed separatists out there. In other parts of the country, they're getting their hat handed to them by the Ukrainian military, and they are withdrawing. There is confirmation from the Pentagon that around the capital city of Kyiv, they are withdrawn. They've also been driven out of certain areas to the north of Kyiv. They had a goal at one point, it seems certain, of trying to surround and encircle Kyiv. They aren't anywhere near that, and in fact, they're getting pushed back, which would also suggest that maybe that promise yesterday that you referred to, that they would drastically reduce military activity around Kyiv and around Chernihiv, that was tactical, perhaps a tactical withdrawal to resupply and reinforce those troops so that they can go at it again. It came during the peace talks, so people thought this was a sign of progress, and it was announced by the Russian negotiator as a gesture of goodwill in the hopes that the peace talks would proceed. We aren't seeing that much here. The sirens go off every few hours here out in the western part of the country as well. So with Russia, you know, you always need to verify what they're saying, and right now it looks like the fighting is continuing.
And a U.S. official tells ABC News, Terry, that they now believe President Putin is being misinformed by his own advisors on the performance of the Russian military because, in their words, they're, quote, too afraid to tell him the truth. So how could that affect Russia's strategy in this war?
You know, that's just an amazing report that our colleague got from the U.S. military, that they believe he's not getting told the truth, Vladimir Putin. Now, that's frightening in some ways because his army is getting manhandled in certain parts. Obviously, they've got far more firepower, far more manpower. Ukrainian military, much smaller, outgunned, and yet because they're such a superior force in terms of discipline, morale, maneuver warfare, that they are able to really defeat Russia in certain places. If Vladimir Putin's not hearing that, that will prolong the war. When you lie to the dictator, it's the problem with tyrannies is that you get yes men around you and yes women, nobody will tell you the truth. He's likely to misunderstand the situation on the ground, and that will likely prolong the war. But it does tell you something, that from the get-go, the mighty Russian military, which was so fearsome on paper, turns out to be in the field right up to the commander-in-chief in the Kremlin, misinformed and inept.
And Ukrainian officials say that their forces have managed to reclaim some territory that had been claimed by the Russians. And now we're hearing that some volunteers rushed to rescue exotic animals from an abandoned zoo that was freed from Russian control. What can you tell us about that?
You know, there's so many casualties in war, aren't there? You know, the casualties, physical, mortal, casualties of the heart, and casualties of the animals as well. So this is a zoo that was located right in the thick of the fighting north of Kyiv. And the zoo was opened somehow through the fighting, and there were wild animals scattered around, some of them very badly injured. And when Ukrainians drove Russians out of that part of Ukraine, there was an effort, there is an ongoing effort, to rescue some of those animals. The owner of the zoo, it's a private zoo, saw that the town had been liberated, and he saw some of these pictures, and somebody reached out, and they're together now cooperating and trying to rescue those animals. As I say, some of them are very badly hurt and will likely have to be destroyed. But others are being rescued, and it's just yet another emotional story out of the chaos of this war.
An aspect so many of us don't think about. And Carrie, I know you've also been following the mayor of Lviv. What's that like? How is he holding on to all of this?
You know, Mayor Andrei Sadovy, who I met before the war. I was here just before the war, and I sat down with him then. He's a changed man now. 200,000 refugees now live here. He estimates 50,000 will stay. He says it's as if Lviv essentially adopted another city, and these people are living with us. He's working 20 hours a day to try to take care of their needs, in addition to attending funerals almost every day of soldiers from Lviv who have been killed, and trying to get supplies out to the other cities and to the front lines as well. It is an amazing job. Diane?
All right. Terry Moran in Lviv, Ukraine. Terry, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.